Yeah, so Andrew finally watched Adolescence, which has been out for a while, but I feel like maybe it's still a little slept on, like not enough people are watching it. So when did you finish watching it, Andrew? Just the last day or two?
I literally finished the last episode this morning, today.
Okay.
It's fresh. But I was watching it in pieces like all week. And yeah, it was absolutely, I think, worth all of the critical acclaim it's been getting. I was pretty blown away, particularly by the performance of the kid. I think his name's Cooper. And oh my God, like that was his first like real role, Owen Cooper. And I was reading up on him and reading up on the production. So I definitely have things to say about the show. But I'll just say I thought it was cool that he was inspired to get into acting because of Tom Holland, seeing him do something,
Hmm,
which makes sense. I feel like Owen, I see big things ahead for that kid.
for
He's
sure.
talented. Beat 500 other auditions. That's a lot.
Wow. Yeah, that's wild. Um,
Candidates, I should say, not auditions.
yeah, the episode that I think he shines by far the most in is the third episode. That's the one where he's at the therapist's office. So anybody that doesn't know, Adolescence is a show that takes place over four different, basically 4 different hours, right? The entire show is shot in real time, a single shot in each of the 4 episodes. And so the first episode is they come to his house, they're arresting him, they take him to the police station, they go through all this stuff. And the way they make that work, getting from the police car outside into the house to the police station, all that is incredible that it's all one shot. Second episode, they're interviewing kids at the school, doing some stuff there. Third episode is the psychologist's office, and then the fourth episode is kind of the family about town trying to be a family again as best they can, and dealing with the things that are in there. So, episode three is the one that definitely focuses the most on the kid himself. It's the most time he spends alone. He spends most of that one with the therapist, and yeah, like this show has to be an award buzz show. Like it has to be. Um, but yeah, so you watched the third episode. I mean, how did you feel from the jump? I know, like at first, it feels kind of slow, and you're kind of trying to figure out what's going on and all that. But what was your take on the
Oh
beginning of it?
yeah, believe it or not, I was in the whole time. I never seen anything made like that. I thought all the performances felt very genuine from this cop who's trying to just like manage his kid, like, dealing with like the bust while dealing with family, like his partner and him who are just kind of having they're very genuine. Then the shock of the parents, the dad, the kids, like so shocked he wets his pants. Like he's just like, what? Get to the thing. He's in misery. He's being booked. Like the thing never stopped. And then what meanwhile, I'm just marveling, yes, at the technological ingenuity of how they never stopped shooting and the camera just keeps going. It's like this thing had to be choreographed. And of course I watched
Yes.
like the show afterwards, like the making of. It was like a 12-minute thing in the end. And if anyone hasn't watched that, watch it. But it really just, you know, pulls the curtain behind everything and it makes you appreciate what they did even more. They did, I think, I want to say, gosh, from memory, it might have been like maybe 4 to 8 takes an episode or something like
Hmm.
that. Like
Yeah.
that insane. Like every week was dedicated to like one episode and they had to like, so I'm sure, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I'm sure that there's takes where certain sections were even better than what we got. But it is what it is. You had to go with the best single take.
Yep.
I'd love to see the others.
Yeah, that would actually be really cool to see that. I think knowing that too, like I remember when I started watching it, I didn't realize that's what they were doing, right? Like I didn't know what the buzz was about it. Like I didn't know anything. And so I started it. And it felt like the cop was going to be kind of more of a main character. Like he kind of
Yes.
fades away, but
Mhm.
I was super impressed with him. I thought he was such a good actor. Like, um, I didn't know anything about him. He just felt like a big deal, and he was really good. And then you break away and you get into the kid. and the parents, and then you get into that last scene where in the first episode where everything's kind of breaking down for the kid, and you really realize that this kid's in it deep at this point. Um, and it's cool. And then you get into the second episode. And I think that's about the time I realized what was going on. And looking back, that final shot in the second episode, where it goes from the school to the memorial, that's still like a single shot. They took that shot while they were filming it attached to a drone. The drone flies up.
Amazing.
It's unbelievable. Like it is a technological marvel. And I think last time I talked about it, I think Lauren, you were on when I talked about it, weren't you? Yeah.
I was.
Um,
You had just finished it.
yeah, and for me, this is theater on film in without being on stage because it has to be rehearsed so much. Like if you go in to do a film, you are going to film maybe two scenes, three scenes in a day. And if you haven't necessarily memorized your lines, you're close to it and you've only memorized a page and you only have to do so much in, like you said, that this is as much choreography as it is um, actual film and television. Like it's so smooth, and the camera operator himself was part of the choreography. He had to move and stay out of the shot, have people stay out of the way. It's pretty brilliant and just unbelievable.
While we're on the technical piece as well, what really blew my mind is all the other things that I've seen on TV where people are driving, they're on a flatbed. They're not really driving. The car's on a flatbed. They have
Hmm.
the camera rig going, and it's just so that way it's a liability issue. So you're not like getting the crash while you're acting. So it blew my mind to see because I was always wondering how do they get the flatbed? Like, how do they get the van on the flatbed without us seeing it? Like, as I was watching it, and I'm like, nope, nope, he was really driving. Like, he was really driving, and that is rare. Because I mean, that's why you even have stunt people do anything from even like a fall, like a simple fall. Nope, you actor, we have a stunt person for that, just for liability reasons.
Um,
So it's a huge liability and a huge risk to have real act like your actors driving while shooting a scene. But they did that, and that to me was, I think, worthy of note and just something that showed how much these folks believed in what they were doing. This was definitely not just a job. This was a passion project, given that Stephen Graham, the actor who played the dad, was one of the producers and the creators of the show. Just want to give a shout out to Ashley Walters. You had talked about the police guy
mhm.
who's going to be a big deal. Apparently, he's a rapper named Asher D. From Britain, from a UK garage group called the So Solid Crew. But he had a hit in 2001. But either way, he went from acting in the UK music scene into, I mean, not acting, rapping in the UK music scene into becoming an actor. So I think that's pretty cool. But I guess you'd have to be from the UK to know who he is.
Yeah.
But yeah, and they even said in the making of what you said, Kev, it was theater. They were literally like acting like on stage, but in close quarters with one single camera. Crazy.
Yeah. I think too. I've seen, and I'm pretty sure it's true that they're looking at this might be like an anthology series, something like they're trying to do with Beef, where they're gonna do a second season that'll be something completely different, and see what they can go. And I think it'll work, but you definitely do have to get that super dramatic story. And I think like the fourth episode, like a lot of it is kind of less like exciting and dramatic than some of the other things that happened. And then as it starts to build towards the end, and then that final shot at the end is just the heartbreaker, like for the whole show. And it's just the dad in the room.
Serious
Um,
acting.
yeah, like it really like for what it is, it's kind of a flawless show.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that I really, because now we can get more into the themes. They talk, I mean, obviously, well, the theme, I would say, is about like there's layers to it, right? So I'll start with the outer layer. I think the outer layer is kind of like parenting and like how do you miss like something go so awry. And one of the things that Steven said to the other showrunner is we cannot blame the parents. And they aren't giving any easy answers or they aren't even saying anything. It's just a complicated issue. However, I do think what they are saying and what they wanted to do was to start the conversation, because the thing that we do not want to do is ignore. We don't want to turn
Mhm.
a blind eye to signs or red flags, because when he was like, what happened? Like, could we have done something different? And I think the wife was basically saying, like, I think it's best that we accept that we could have, but like it is what it is now. And the psychologist or therapist that were working with them said it's not your fault. And then they're looking at the sister and they're like, how come she's so sweet? I mean, she came in and checked on them. Like she was such an angel. Whereas the son is like, what the heck? But I do think that yeah, I think the main message is we can no longer ignore. That's the outer layer. Now I'll go to the inner layer. I do think that to talk about boys, in a sense of, how do I put this? To look at boys, and I'm saying boys, not men, to look at boys as being a group of people who might actually need more of our attention or who might be being left behind, I think is actually a bit of a controversial issue. I think that over really the last, really since probably the 70s, it's been about boys are privileged, girls, on the other hand, are always told all these negative things. And I think to say anything contrary to that gets you kind of laughed at or gets you automatically put into the whole Andrew Tate red pill thing, right? But the issue is because no one is actually addressing it, those Andrew Tate folks, I think, are filling a void. So I don't think that the show is actually saying one or the other. They're just saying, this is the reality. This is what's happening. We can go on and like pretend it's not happening. And then these tragedies are still going to happen. So we've got to start the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really brave because, frankly, I don't see anything else even remotely close to addressing something this kind of icky.
Yeah.
Especially during this digital age. And I feel like they didn't say like what year this took place, but I feel like we can call it boy, but even just male loneliness is becoming even more so an epidemic of its own since COVID.
Hmm.
And I think that has, in many cases, become something that's, like you said, a much larger conversation that needs to be had now more than ever because parents are not privy to what's going on. Maybe some have protection on devices and stuff like that, but nonetheless, I don't think they're fully aware of what their child is looking at. I mean, especially when they're going through, I mean, they talk about porn with him, they talk about, things that are very like cringy, but I don't think parents like have certain conversations with their boys like maybe girls or mothers have with their daughters. I don't
Yeah,
think there is that very, deep and in many cases uncomfortable, sometimes uncomfortable conversations with
absolutely.
young boys
Yeah.
about, hey, what you're doing, is this consensual? Or just even what you're doing, is this a way that you should be talking to a woman, young girl, about a young girl? Because I mean, they use the word incel multiple times, more
Yeah.
so in the third episode. And a boy that age probably doesn't even know what that means.
And the other, you brought up something that was I thought was really interesting too. And again, we're having the conversation, which is precisely what they wanted us to do, which is
Right,
perfect. Is the dad and the son, like, if anything, there was kind of a barrier, right? Because the dad wanted the son to be this rough and tumble kid when he was just a sensitive, likes to draw kid,
right.
and he said, I couldn't look at my kid like when the other dads were laughing at him as he'd mess up in soccer and they call it football, you know what I mean? And they make
Yep.
him goalie. Like, he didn't realize the son saw that he would look away. Like whenever he messed up, like there was definitely a chasm or chasm, however you say that word, between them. And that was like, definitely didn't help things at all. The kid was on his own. Then going back to like that third episode, my God, like the way he would vacillate between coolness and anger and cursing and throwing things, and then at the very end is asking her in the way in my head, because I'm a bit of an asshole, but like in my head to have the gall to ask her, but do you like me? But it said so much about who he was. Like this guy has zero self-esteem. And that's also a huge part of why I say, like, really it all starts from within. And the fact that he had nothing is what made him such a destructive force to those around him. I'm not blaming him, but I am saying that that was the situation. And it's a complex issue. And but I think again, I think they just tried to ignore it. They tried to just be like, oh, he's a normal kid, he'll be fine. And he wasn't. And I think this is, and I love that Stephen also said, the actor, the dad actor said, this could be anyone. I didn't want the kid, for his name right now, but to be othered. He is not some weirdo or freak who kills animals in the backyard. He could be your kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got that for sure. That vibe. I mean, he was someone who had friends. He was not that, and I think a lot of people associate violent behaviors, unfortunately, with like, and I think a lot of this started with the Columbine
Mhm.
type of stereotype, the outcast. This kid wasn't an outcast per se. I think he was just suffering perhaps in a more internal fashion, but he had friends where whether they were true friends or not, or they're close friends, sure. But yeah, I mean, I got the vibe. Definitely the parents were not really in tune with what was going on with this kid. Go ahead.
I love the cops kid. He was awesome. Like he literally, even though he was getting bullied too, the cops kid, he finally pulls his dad aside and is like, "Look, Dad, like you look like an idiot out there. Let me help you." And at
Yeah.
first, the dad's like resisting, and the kid's like, "I knew this was gonna happen." Like, no, no, wait, wait, let me. And then you notice afterwards, he agrees to go to get a meal with his kid. Like
Yep.
that was the example of that's what you need, right? But anyway,
Yeah.
that's when he points out like incel, like all the social media stuff. Like he was just schooling his dad on what the emojis meant.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, yes. Like social media. Here's another thing. Yeah. So you'll also know that I'm also Mr. Don't blame the tool, blame the user, right? But yeah, I think now I would not be against some sort of legislation that actually bans social media usage until maybe the age of 16. Like I really think like this could be an issue. Brains aren't fully formed.
Totally. And I think I know like Facebook, they ask if you're like 16 years old, but there's no way of proving whether someone under the age of 16 is signing up because it's like one of those sites where you'll go on, it'll be like, are you 21 years or older for anything that's like alcohol related? And of course, like who's ever t putting in, oh, no. You're always clicking yes or putting in the birthday. You know what year is of
Mhm.
legal age, so you're putting in the wrong year. Yeah, they don't properly.
Shaming.
Yeah, Jamie. Yep.
Yeah.
There was no way to really enforce that, but yeah, this I mean, and not to like knock the girl that died, but it seemed like she wasn't exactly a sweet person either. Not that she deserved to die, but it seemed like she was someone who definitely was a bit of a bully herself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And the thing is too, like you've got to like as somebody who has teenage kids in my house,
Yeah.
like the way that they communicate is different than the way that we communicate. Like there's terminology, there's words that like every parent out there is hearing right now. Just like we used to say rad all the time, right? Like there's all kinds of terminology, all kinds of things that are becoming normal speak because of social media and texting that even verbal language has become shorter and there are abbreviations for everything that we just wouldn't understand if we just heard them talking,
Mhm.
in public. And so when he has that conversation about the emojis, you could easily, and I think they have that conversation with the therapist too, when she's like, well, it just says this, this, and this, and the kid's like, nah, nah, like it means something totally different. And it's really enlightening because you, even as a parent, if you think you're watching, if you think you're looking over your kid's shoulder, you think you're seeing this, all of this stuff would look potentially innocent if you didn't understand. Because I remember it was maybe, I think it was probably after we were teenagers, but I remember like there was AOL chat rooms and there was all that stuff, and then there was even back then there was like code for like I think it was like POTS, which is like parent over the shoulder. So you type that in and let somebody know that there's a parent behind you. Your parent wouldn't know, right? So like
Pots. Oh
there's
my
always been a
God.
way for kids or like even back when we were teenagers when we had phones, right? And you're talking to somebody, you'd have like a safe word that you'd say all of a sudden, and everybody would know that you're in you got
Oh,
to communicate differently, right? So like kids are definitely smarter than we give them credit for, but they're not as mature as they need to be for the
exactly.
smarts that they have in a lot of cases. And so, you can, like I said, you can think you're doing everything right. You can watch over the shoulders. You can see all this stuff. You can see all of the conversations and traffic and all those things. But if you don't actually understand what they're saying, even if you're seeing it all, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and to me, it's not an issue. And it's funny because I say this being, kidless, but to me, it's like not an issue of watching. It's an issue of being engaged, like actually being involved with the kid's life to the point where they feel comfortable, like talking to you. You could totally tell, like the daughter was comfortable talking to her parents about her
Hmm.
life, even to the point where he's like, yeah, he's a dickhead. And then that's like language. But it's funny how like they were just on that level. Whereas the kid probably door closed all the time, very shut out. And yeah, it's like no one wants to be surveyed. I think people just want, everyone wants to feel corny, but like everyone wants to feel loved and be loved and all that stuff, right? That's what the
Yep.
kid wanted at the end of the day. And if he had gotten that, maybe things would have turned out differently. And yeah, they did the best they could, but they just didn't know how. And maybe the dad, like, I mean, we saw he didn't have the best example of like how to be a dad, like from his dad. Although it's funny because part of the conversation, I will say, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but like, yeah, dad definitely has anger issues for sure.
Oh yeah.
But it's like the dad was raised with a bit more of a stricter hand.
Upbringing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that might have helped keep him kind of in line. Whereas the Jamie was like just allowed to do whatever he wanted, and he did. And to the point where he actually lied to his dad. Like that to me is nuts. But like denial, that's the other theme. Denial. Like, and it's what it is. Denial is just like not the way to go, which to me is like a stronger way of looking the other way. But the kid was in denial of himself. He was like, I think he actually legit kind of low key still thought of him as a nice person, thought of himself as a nice person. He's like, I could have touched up, but I didn't. Other guys would, and I wanted to, but I didn't. Like, what? Yo.
Not until like the end of the first episode, like where you actually see the video footage
Yeah.
of him hurting her, do you actually believe like, oh, this kid, there's no way. At least
Yeah.
I thought so, right? Like I
They
was
wanted you to think, even the show said that, but my whole thinking was like,
until you
if
actually
they're
saw
if
it.
they kick down the door, they got something.
With a SWAT team, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Like,
got something good.
And
But
it's
yeah, but you're
all
supposed to.
video footage and everything. So yeah. But the way he like pissed his pants and everything like that, it made you think that this kid, like, I don't know, he was very convincing that
Yeah.
he did not do anything wrong. The way he
well,
spoke to his father, the way he reacted with just peeing his pants and just how he was at the police station, scared shitless. You're just like, I don't know.
well, and I think too, I think part of his brain really convinced himself that he did not do anything wrong. Like he was pretty convinced. Even when he was talking to the therapist, like he was pretty convinced. It wasn't until basically that phone call in the fourth episode where he finally says,
Thankfully.
Yeah, and like he finally gets it. He's finally understanding that he has
Has to face his new
done
reality.
this thing wrong. Yeah, because like they were all gonna fight and they were gonna, try and push through this, and he finally realizes that no, he can't do that. He messed up.
Yeah.
He did this thing and it was wrong, and but up until that point, like he really never took ownership of it. He didn't really understand, um, what he had done, which I don't know if that's, you convincing yourself that it didn't happen. Like some of that is like normal psychology where something bad happens and your brain just kind of erases it to keep you going, right? And how much of it was just he just didn't get it. And yeah, it was really well done. Everything about it was really well done.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope that more conversations are had. What I also liked was Stephen talked about episode 4. He's like, most of the time shows like this or stories like this focus on the victim's family. And he said as well they should.
Hmm.
However, it's also important to show the tatters and the knock-on effects that happen to this other family, the family of the perpetrator, because they're still trying to go on with their lives. And it's like it's just so damaging all the way around. I will say as well that, there's so many ways to look at what happened because going back to Lauren, what you said about, I think it was Katie, who was like kind of a bully. I mean, there are several things I think that went kind of wrong, but I do think that Katie, in a way, was acting a bit like a normal person. My God, that when she's like, I'm not that desperate. I mean, it's like, okay, but whatever, dude. Like, it's her right to reject it. It's fine, right? But I think what wasn't really, I've never heard anybody talk about this yet, but when she sent the pictures to the guy that she liked, the 20 percenter, if you will, yeah. When she sent the pictures to him and then he sent them to everybody in the school, that's not cool too, right?
Yeah.
So that's just another symptom, if you will, of like, I don't know, man, like it's electronics that allowed that to happen. Like we didn't have that problem, like Gen X, like we didn't have cell phones and stuff.
Yeah.
So this is probably happening more than we realize.
Oh
But
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, and
100%.
and it's more public, right? Like either you're in a chat group with your friends and stuff, you say something stupid, all of a sudden there's a screenshot of it. All of a sudden it's out there in front of it. Like there's a million ways that the things you can do can get out. It's not just like oh, I heard somebody said something at a party and then a rumor builds. Like now
right,
you're like, here's the receipts for this thing that happened that was still, in a lot of cases something innocent. Somebody just says something stupid, that's just something stupid. But then it gets out there and that makes them look bad, and then they're all of a sudden on the defensive for the rest of however long, and it builds from there. Like things snowball from there. So it's um, definitely messy.
here's my last word on this. Even though I'm again a bit resistant to let's start legislating things to be like, oh, cut the kids off or whatever. I'm down for it. But at the end of the day, and it sounds like a very conservative refrain, but at the end of the day, it all starts at home. It starts with the parents, and they're the ones who are the front line of defense for these kids. But that said, if we can support the parents with better societal um, recognizance of this crisis, which could be male loneliness, as Lauren put it, or more precisely, as far as this show goes, boys being feeling like outcast or left behind or whatever. We should do it.
And it's like you said too, like we do talk to girls all the time. And the conversation is a little different. Like with girls, you say, "Oh, be safe. Look out for this. Do this. Do this. Do this." Right? And you talk to young girls about how to, keep themselves out of danger, basically keep their head on a swivel because even now we do a better job of telling girls to protect themselves rather than telling boys to control themselves, right? Like that's a whole conversation anyways that's completely separate of this, but the you never have a conversation with the boys about also watching out for uh, the world that's out there. Like you don't people expect boys to just grow up and be tough, right? Like there's just like a mentality that has come out of probably even earlier than the 70s, probably the 50s, like when kids even further back, right? Like
On a time,
boy,
dude.
yeah, yeah, and
We
so
sorry.
yeah, so we assume that boys are just going to handle everything like tough and be cool, but it's really easy, especially now, and you see it in the show. And granted, again, it's not that the girl deserved to die. Nothing, she didn't deserve to have
No, of
anything really
course
bad
not.
happen to her, but she did bully this kid. She did push this kid. She did do these things that if parents knew that they should have a better conversation with their kid about, this problem maybe wouldn't have happened. Right? Like to be able to tell a kid, hey, people are going to be shitty. Sometimes it's going to be girls that are going to be shitty, and that's going to make you angry. That's going to make you sad. That's going to make you feel things that we're not used to saying boys are allowed to feel, and so now you have to deal with that. And that's I think another one of the conversation points that will hopefully come out of this show.
Yeah, 1,000%. And to what you're saying, like I think again, I think we've lived in a very patriarchal society for a long time, and even like a show like Mad Men will show you that. But like what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
referring to is like um, and I haven't seen the stats myself, but I know people who name nameless, but they are women, who will say things like college campuses now, like it's majority women. And I think what basically what's happening is girl power, if you will. There's always been a lot more girl empowerment stuff, starting from like,
Hmm.
preschool, like all throughout, and it's working, which is a good thing. But now it's just kind of like in the process of the girl power movement. If you say boy power, that's tantamount to saying white power. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It
Yep.
doesn't, right? What? Y'all been power, like whatever. But at the same time, boys are still boys. They're still human. They're still insecure. They still have feelings, clearly, so it's like there's we've got like we've taken care of this. Now let's take care of that, and then let's take care of everybody. That's kind of basically I think what the show is saying. But they're not giving any prescriptions, but they're just saying maybe we should start thinking about
Yeah.
this.
Figure it out. It reminds me of like the whole like all lives matter thing, right? Which is it's true, right? Yeah, yes.
In
All,
theory, yes,
but
but usually it comes out in response to something else. That's all.
right, and to me, like, fine, yes, all lives matter, but you have this segment of people that have been marginalized. So if you are saying all lives matter, then also Black Lives Matter. So let's help them. Also,
Yes.
it's like all lives matter isn't a response to shutting down that movement. It should be a response to agreeing with that movement and then helping those people out. And the people that go that route give a bad name to the people that would help everyone rather than,
And you'll
you know,
notice I have not once said boys' lives matter because I'm not a idiot. It's not even about optics. It's about nah, like we've been okay for the most part. Like it's really though, I think it is the younger generations who had it tougher, I think, as a boy than even our generation. We saw G.I. Joe and everything else, right? Like, so I'm just saying, like we saw male leader role model, whatever. So anyways, yes, you're 1,000% right. And
well, and I think too, these are conversations that always should have been had for generations and generations, just about different things. Like if you look at the news, what who is the majority of serial killers in the world? It's not women, it's
It's
men,
men.
right? Like
Young men
so.
under the age of
Yeah.
22
Yeah.
usually. Yeah.
There's a very specific demographic, right? And so
sorry.
it's true. Serial killers is white males like 24 to 40. Like it's right in there. That's the majority of them. And so like yes, it is different, but at the same time, like these conversations should have been had, in a lot of cases. There's a lot of domestic violence that could be not necessarily solved, but at least curbed if people are having these conversations. Young boys are coming out of, are growing up with fathers that were abusive because their fathers were abusive because so like it's all a cycle. And if you don't break it, if you don't have the conversations like this show is putting forward, then it's not going to get any better.
Well, we'll see
So
that at the award shows. That's all I'm saying. I
100%.
blown away, blown away.
100%. Yeah, and like I said early on, like this show was pretty perfect in its execution. There are some people that were a little upset because like there wasn't like an actual payoff, like there wasn't something like dramatic at the end or anything like that. And it's some people just aren't ready for like that kind of show. This wasn't a show about the process. This wasn't Law and Order, where you're seeing this is just a show about the people that are going through this thing and what it's doing to everyone around them. And I think that, like I said, that really culminates in the fourth episode when you see the family just trying, the three that are left
Exactly.
behind, just trying to be okay, and the world still won't quite let them be okay. And so they're still trying to figure out, like, and if you
Sorry.
look at the time that elapses throughout the show, I mean, we're
Like
months and
11
months
months.
down the road, yeah,
Yes.
and it's still a problem for
The
them. So,
wisdom of the daughter.
mhm.
Loved her wisdom when she said, "We're not moving." And she's like, because we'll move, eventually someone will find out something, and that something will become everything, and it'll be even worse. And to me, it was like, I got her logic. I really did, because
Yeah.
moving almost feels like running away or feeling guilty or whatever. Like, anyways, I admired her strength there. She was a good egg. And I'm just kind of like, don't feel, I mean, yes, it sucks that your kid's a knifer, or whatever, a nonce. But I had to look that up, by the way. But your daughter, she rocks.
Well, and that's sort of a conversation point too, right? Like they communicated better with their daughter. So she communicated better with them. They let their son be, didn't communicate with him,
Yeah.
and things happened as they did. Again, it's not any one person's fault. Like there was a pile of things in every corner that led to this one event that could have been avoided. But, communication, ultimately is what it's all about.
Man.
So,
And that's our APNC TED Talk.
right? Yeah, we got
I'm wearing
we
red for Ted.
we got super
Red,
mature.
red, red for Ted. Red for Ted. Sorry.
So, all right. Well,
One last note, guys,
sure.
and I just wanted to mention this too, and it's funny because my friend from the UK was visiting last week, and one of the things we were talking about was just some differences between America and the UK. And one of the things he said is that, wow, you guys have a lot of gun violence here in the US. Guns are not really a thing in the UK. Knife violence is every exactly. So just speaking about this, well, seeing the show, he saw the show, we talked about the show, and I also asked him, are schools really like that disorganized
Auto.
and that
Yeah.
chaotic? And he said, yes, that's a perfect depiction of how schools are. And as someone who went to public school in the US, that shit wasn't going down. Absolutely not. Just how out of control these kids were in the yard, or I don't even want to call it recess because it wasn't recess, it's middle school, but still, it's just he said that there's no structure or any type of like discipline in the UK for the most part.
Terrible. Like that is so like, yeah, I was like, I would stay far away from the education system if I was over there. That was a hellhole. And the way they would describe the smell too, which is, I hate smells. Anyway, it was just like, ew, like yuck. Like, but the teacher would tell the kid, like, can you do something? He'd be like, oh yeah, sure. Even the kid running, sorry, I'm gonna go there. When the cop is running after the kid, I was like, yep, that wouldn't fly in the US. I swear to God.
No way.
No, black guy running after a white kid. No, people would jump on the black guy, like not knowing he's a cop.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, that was like, yep. So that's how the UK is different in a way. Race isn't as big of a deal over there as it is.
He mentioned that as well.
Yeah,
He's like, we
it's
don't
not,
see it like that. It's
because they
not a
don't they
thing.
don't have slavery and all that other shit. So it's really baked in to our psyche as a country. Um,
Correct.
but anyway, but yeah, no, I personally think a lack of discipline absolutely will spoil you as a human being. You will have no impulse control. This kid had no impulse control, clearly.
100%.
And it's like you need that. Spare the rod, spoil the child. I'm not saying spare the rod as in like physical, but I'm just saying when you spare the discipline, yeah, that's an epidemic too. I love that he brought that up, or you brought that up rather. This show is just trying to really just put all this out there to have a conversation. You got to talk about it. You have to recognize a problem before you can even address it.
Yeah. And it's just fascinating to hear how things differ. Because, I mean, Andrew, I knew you went to school in Canada and then
And you,
California
yes. Yeah.
and the US. Yeah. And the US. We didn't see such
No.
lack of discipline. We were in line, and I'm not saying it was like military-esque,
Military.
Okay.
but
Yeah.
Nuns
but
with
like
rulers, yeah, but
I would never have like even that girl just kicking him in the middle of like kicked him in the balls in the middle of the courtyard. You're done. Like you
hmm
may not go back to school for weeks, months. In my district,
yep.
that
Yeah.
was not happening. Like you get into a fight, you're that goes on your
You,
record. You're done for a couple weeks, months, and that stuff then gets passed on. And honestly, like I felt, and this is just my opinion, you guys can tell me if you felt this way too. You behaved out of fear that it would screw your future. You won't
correct.
go to college. You
It's
won't
because
get a
Correct.
job.
kids were convinced that we actually had a permanent record. Remember that term?
Correct.
Like,
Yeah.
Correct. No,
yeah.
but seriously, and I remember like going into middle school and or no, sorry, ninth grade, right? What you do today is going to follow you
For the
we
rest
were
of your life.
scared shitless. No one was cursing in class. No one was doing this nonsense. Just the way that these kids behaved, it was insanity.
Yes.
Absolute animalistic in some ways, where I
Yes.
just couldn't believe that this was a school.
Yes.
Private, public doesn't matter. And it's funny because they're all in uniforms because that's what they do in the UK, whereas
hmm
in the US, unless you're in, let's say, like
Private
a city
school.
school
Or yeah.
or even like, yeah, like, and New York City, a lot of them do have to wear a uniform, right? But in terms of just behavior or how disciplinary action is, I guess, implemented, hell no, this is not happening. It's just not happening. So, yeah, I thought that was fascinating. I was kind of shocked, honestly. I was shocked that
Well,
this was a thing. I really
that's
was.
that too makes me think about Andrew when you said you knew the kid was guilty because of the people that they sent in. Those people also had guns, which is not common for the police department in the UK.
That's right.
Generally speaking, the police do not carry guns in
Yeah,
the
you're right.
UK.
Billy clubs. That's it.
Yeah, and so when they're I mean they're
Insane.
showing up with assault rifles and like
Right.
tactical gear. I'm like, dude, this kid's
You
like as
got
big as
something.
my leg, man. Like this kid fucked up,
Yeah.
like so yeah, it's definitely a different world over there. It's definitely a different world. So yeah, that is definitely a thing too. When you're watching a story like this, you do kind of have to keep in mind the cultural differences. It doesn't feel like there's as many because the it looks like the same kind of groups of people that we have over here. A public school at a glance is a public school, right? You've got kids of every
Right.
race sharing a classroom and all that, but there still are cultural differences between the UK and the United States. So,
100%. And I think that could something like this happen in the US?
oh yeah,
Absolutely. But I think it would just unravel a little bit differently.
You know what though? Here's where the US would have a harder time. We don't have CCTV. CCTV is like, I mean, not to the extent that like the UK is a surveillance society, which to me is not a bad thing. Of course, some
I
people
don't
are
have a
like,
problem with that.
what's that?
So I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, you don't? Okay, cool. Because I always felt like people were like, no, my rights, right? But like, fuck your rights. No. But like, no, it's for the protection of everybody. And
Yeah,
if you weren't doing anything wrong, then you have nothing to worry about. But my rights, my rights. F you. So but the US is all about like, nah, freedom. So they're all against cameras. So there's a chance that it could happen in the US, but it would take months to solve, right?
Right.
They wouldn't have the smoking gun or the bloody knife on video like they did. So That's the one difference I
I
would say.
think surveillance is just much more limited in the US.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never had a problem with it because I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right,
Record me walking literally out my front door to anywhere I go. I don't care. I'm not doing anything
right.
wrong. Like you're not gonna catch me doing something, so I'm not worried about it. I
Yeah.
was like, if my TV is listening to everything I'm doing, sure. Like I don't care. Like like I really don't do anything wrong. I'm not too worried about it. Um, I can see how some people would be. You know, there's a certain subset of people that really would not benefit from being listened to every day. But generally speaking, yeah, like it's not that big of a deal unless somebody is using it for nefarious purposes once they get a copy of it. So that's I get that argument too. But yeah.
There you
So,
go. All right.
all right, cool. Well, Lauren, since you're still here and
I
you're not going to
am.
be here for much longer, and we just talked forever about a show that was very theatrical in its creation. You just saw Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which I am like really itching to see. I'm super curious about this, and I think the timing of it being out now. I know it's been out for a while, but
Has.
it's out at an interesting time now because we've gone from the original movies that everybody saw in the early 2000s. Now
Hmm.
this has become a big deal. It's been out for a while, and we're maybe 2 years out from the new Harry Potter series starting up. So it's kind of like a way to reinvigorate the stories here. So I don't know. Tell us about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Sure. So I was going to ask Andrew, have you seen it?
No.
No. Okay. I was curious. So this came out in 2018. I didn't realize I knew it was out for a while, but I didn't realize it's been like 6 years at this point. And it's being shown at the Lyric Theater on 43rd Street. So literally right in Times Square area. And this was a phenomenon when it came out in 2018. And if Andrew, you may remember this, and Kevin, I don't know if you know this, but it was a two-parter
Yep.
when it first
Yep.
came out. So they had two seatings. So you'd have to dedicate a morning session and an afternoon session. So they were really making like serious money on this.
Yep.
It also is being showcased on the West End in London. And I'll be honest with you, I had no interest in seeing the show at all at first. I know. I was like, whatever, it's Harry Potter. Like, this isn't real theater. Like, blah. Like, this is just for the Harry Potter fans. And I like Harry Potter, but I wouldn't say I'm a mega fan. So, of course, my friend from the UK comes over and I was like, what do you want to see? He's like, oh, you won't see Harry Potter. I'm like, I guess. So I played the lottery. We won $40 seats, sixth row
Wow.
orchestra. Mwah. Thank you, New York Lottery. And just another workaround for seeing more shows at a discounted rate. And we saw it. So at some point after the pandemic, they were able to combine the two and really shorten it into one show, which I appreciated because we don't have time for this. A morning session and afternoon session. Heck, I'm gonna go fly somewhere at that point and jump on an airplane. But it was about like 2.5 hours with like a 15-minute intermission, and they did a really good job. So to set the stage, literally here, this takes place 19 years after Deathly Hallows. So main characters, we've got Harry, Hermione, Ron, Ginny. This is like when they're married and they have kids. You've got Draco Malfoy, and then Harry has a son. And for those of you who may recall at the end of Deathly Hallows, they gave birth to a son and they named him Albus Severus Potter after Severus Snape and Albus Dumbledore. Albus Dumbledore. So it follows Albus Dumbledore. Sorry, yes, Albus, excuse me,
Albus
Severus
Severus.
Potter, and Scorpius Malfoy, who become friends on the train to Hogwarts their first year, and everyone is like, "Are you sure you want to hang out with this guy?" And you guys may know this, but the Sorting Hat is put on top of Albus's head, and he is actually put in
Slytherin?
excuse me,
Yep.
Slytherin. Thank you.
Okay.
In Slytherin, so they become closer, they're good friends. And unlike his father, Draco Malfoy, Scorpius is just like more of like a very passive, nerdy, insecure type of guy, and he's not like his father at all. So even though Harry's saying like, don't hang out with him. He's no good. He's like, the Malfoy family. Not the case. So they become good friends, Albus and Scorpius, and you get to meet Rose, who is Hermione and Ron's daughter, and she's in Gryffindor, but she has like more of a very small role. But these boys end up getting in their hands one of the last time turners, which
Mm.
were apparently destroyed all after everything that happened years later. You think there are no more. They end up going to Hermione's office, and at that point, she is like one of the heads of magic, like in like what was the capital called again? Wherever it was, like
Yeah.
outside of,
The Ministry of Magic.
yeah, basically she was like one of the top head board people, Hermione, so they tell us, right? And the two boys are able to get this time turner. And after Albus overhears a conversation between Harry and Cedric Diggory's father, forgot his name. Years later, this old man still yearns for his son, Cedric. So Albus and Scorpius decide, let's go back in time and go to Goblet of Fire, fourth film, and try to save Cedric and make him like out to be a fool, where he does not win and ends up dying by Voldemort that day, who ends up cursing him and does one of those spells that kills him. And you find out that like everything goes wrong as they're trying to do this. People start getting like these series of events by changing things, as they said, in like the fourth film when they're sorry, the third film of using the time turner, remember, in like Azkaban
Hmm.
they use it.
Yep.
You have to be very careful because if you don't do the right things and people see you who aren't supposed to see you, things will disappear. People will no longer exist. And it actually like makes me think of Back to the Future
Yep.
in some regards. So I thought it was very well done. Guys, this was a feast for the eyes. Holy shit. What just this was another realm of a play. The way they had the Dementors dancing in, like one of them was coming to the audience, super scary as hell. They have a guy dressed up as Voldemort and he just walks down the aisle. I'm scared shitless. I'm like, oh my God, thank God I'm on like the side orchestra. It's freaky. It's freaky. The way they have the time turner, it's insane how they make the theater shake. Like you feel like you're traveling with Scorpius and Albus back in time. They have you go back in time to the day that Harry's born, which is, I think, 1981. He was born on Halloween. Did you guys know that?
It does sound familiar, yes.
Right. So you get to go back in time with that. The fighting scenes, the magic, it is absolutely incredible. And I was definitely like, I don't want to see this. I was such a brat. I was like, I guess so, because you're coming from England. Like, that was just more my attitude. But I'm so glad I did. It was great. It's not for the normal theater goers. I will say that if you're, into Oklahoma, Chicago, Phantom of the Opera, this is not going to be your type of experience. This is very niche. It is very
Modern.
different, modern, magical. If you like Harry Potter or just anything that's fantasy, this is a show for you. And the way that they were able to put this together was really incredible. I'm happy I went. I really am. It was awesome. And apparently, according to my friend in the UK, they're still doing it in two-parters, whereas
Hmm.
in the US they merge it into one. But yeah, so this is definitely worth it. And I think because it's been out now for 6 years, it's a good time to see because it's not as expensive as all these other shows that are going on right now. You got Denzel on Broadway, you've got Jake Gyllenhaal on Broadway, you've got George Clooney, you got all these big names, Nicole Scherzinger on Broadway, and it's like, okay, then Harry Potter, whatever. You can easily see it for under $100, whether it be a few days before in booking, the day of, lottery. Go see it. It's fantastic. If you're traveling from Jersey, if you're traveling from Connecticut, I mean, the theater is right near Grand Central Station and Penn Station. It's easy to get to and it's fantastic. Truly fantastic.
How's the music?
It's not a musical.
Oh, it's not.
It's not. I mean, they
Oh,
have
I
like
really thought it was.
instruments playing. No,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
a musical, which I appreciated too because I was like, this would have been dumb.
Yeah, I legitimately thought it was a musical.
Yeah.
So, no, that's
And
cool.
and and comical too. I think one of my favorite parts is when they go to the girls' bathroom and like Moaning Myrtle,
Hmm.
from Chamber of Secrets, she just like comes out of the water fountain and she's like an actual like walking human and like hysterical. So funny. Um, it's funny talking to my friend from the UK and I was like, all right, what did you think of the accents? What was real? What was not? Like what sounded like shit? Tell me. And he was very honest with me on who sounded legit and who did not. The Professor McGonagall, like her accent was like outrageously bad. And even I could figure that out. I was like, this is really just like beyond overdoing the Scottish accent. But I think they did a great job. And oh, I'm gonna do say one more thing about this. I'm so bummed that I mean I'm happy that I went on a Tuesday, but a few days prior, guess who was there who made a special appearance?
Radcliffe
No,
or what's her name? Hermione.
Hermione.
no.
Was it someone from Harry Potter? Then,
From the original cast,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, so then Rupert Grint.
No. Jason Isaacs.
You know what's
Uh,
next on my list, actually, because he's obviously anyway. That's awesome.
Uh,
Duh,
I didn't see, I'm so
awesome.
bummed. I was like, oh, I wish I knew. Like, I would have just, yeah. I guess, I don't know if he was doing like a Q&A afterwards, but he showed up, special appearance
Good for him.
for, but he's like blowing up now everywhere. I think he's going to be in a new movie or show coming up as well. Like, he's just blowing up again. So, really excited about that. Yeah, guys, it was great. Definitely recommend it. For sure and see it here versus the UK because apparently it's, more expensive and they're still doing it in two parts. So yeah, definitely see it in one part for sure.
So I know you're leaving very soon.
I am.
But Harry Potter, I just in general, and we're not going to get into this whole controversy thing, but like, this in general has been a controversial thing because of JK. And
yes.
like,
Rowling, yeah.
even like the guy who got cast for Snape, which is a whole nother thing, but we'll
Yeah,
leave
yeah.
that. Apparently some group or whatever was like, okay, we appreciate that you support us, but by you being in this thing, it negates your support. Like it's like one of those things where it's like, I don't even know if it's cool to like Harry Potter anymore, straight up, right? And then I was reading up on, but apparently I'm looking on Wikipedia and like it looks like it was actually well received, like critically.
Hmm.
But there, of course, there's got to be controversy. So I'm going to ask you.
Well,
There's
Hermione was black in the
I've
original.
never heard of queer baiting before. This is a term apparently. A queer baiting accusation. The stage plays ambiguously gay portrayal of the male friendship between Albus and Sylvius
Yes.
has been criticized as an
Yes.
example of queer baiting, with director John Tiffany stating his belief it would not have been appropriate for the cursed child to directly address the character's sexualities. So basically, it's like saying, "Hey, we're gay friendly, but we're not really gay." Like, is that what you got?
Yes. Throughout the show, they're just like holding each other and embracing each other in a way was like, I don't think Harry and like Ron embraced each other like this. And then at the end, Harry has a talk with him to be like, it's okay who to be who you are. And it was not a like it's okay to be like a Slytherin type of okay, as in like I accept you type of okay. They're gay. Like I got the vibe. I didn't even bother asking my friend, but I was just thinking like on the whole train home, I was like, I think they're gay. There's definitely some sort of, but apparently J.K. Rowling had some hand in the
Oh
show.
no, she totally
Yeah.
wrote it. Yeah. But again,
So. I
she's
don't
not
know.
anti-LGBT. Like that's not her beef. Her beef is just like, look, like I'm a woman and you can't just like change yourself into a woman and claim to go through all the things I go through. It's like you're trying to like steal like
Yeah, but she's really leaned into the bigotry behind
oh
it.
yeah, okay. You know what? You know what? So now I'm
Yeah.
in trouble. But I'm just saying. But I don't. Agreed. Agreed. But again, I don't think it's necessarily like I don't like gay people. Like I don't think that's the issue. Like the two gay guys, I haven't seen anything from her to say she would have an issue with that.
Yeah.
Trans? Yeah,
Mm.
that's the issue. But
Yeah. I mean, that whole
anyway,
thing is another topic that I don't want
it's
to
a
cover. But yeah,
completely yeah. We'll leave that alone.
Well, she disowned most of the original cast now.
Well, yeah, because they disowned
Like
her.
2 weeks ago, they like literally signed something
Yeah,
that was like, yeah, she sucks.
yeah.
She was like, I hate them. And I was like, well, at this point, they're doing better than you. Like,
I
is
mean, is she doing that bad though? She's still making proceeds and royalties off this
she's
thing.
always going to make money, but these kids that started at 13 and 14 are going to have much longer careers and more because she's written things since to
Sure.
minimal success. The only money she's making is still off of the fact that Harry Potter is
Right.
Harry Potter.
Can't bother him.
Yeah.
And so
Well, of course they're not going to back her because that would end their careers at a young age. No one's going to back her. If you back her, you're
well,
dumb,
but they could easily
whether you
not say
agree or
anything.
not. But
Yeah,
I
that
mean, you
was
could agree with her or not, but like who in their right mind is good? Here's a perfect example. Here's a perfect example. A couple years ago, Kanye West was on Saturday Night Live and he wore that Make America Great Again freaking hat, right? Pete Davidson made a joke. He walked outside and his joke was, I left because I want a career. And he like jut off that stage quicker than you can imagine. That's exactly what is happening here. These people want to sustain a career. So, of course, they're going to be like, oh, I'm not going to defend J.K. Rowling. Are you kidding me? Hell no, because they know they will be canceled. This is the difference. Cancel culture is real. You say nothing. You say nothing, or if you say something, it's in opposition of unfortunate, or I shouldn't say opposition, but it is with the majority that won't get you canceled. So, I mean, they got to be grateful for her because she is
Took them
responsible
on.
for their success. Correct. But they're not going to be like, oh, I mean, it's sort of like fucking Roseanne, right? Roseanne Barr, same shit, right? I mean, she kind of got outed at the end of the day, and were like, bye, we're gonna create a show around you. But they're not standing by her. They want nothing to do with her. John Goodman and
yeah.
the rest of the cast, bye. But it was a Roseanne show. So, yeah, but it's interesting. So, yes, Andrew, I got that vibe. And I don't know why I didn't bring it up to my friend, but yes,
Cool.
it's Sean, if you're watching, we need to talk about this because they're gay. Um, like, they're gay, no question. But yeah, they totally were. And it,
I
I,
kind of get the idea though,
yeah.
because like they're still if they're first years, I mean they're what, 12 years old?
So
So
they're
like
actually, I think, in year three. It starts in year one, but then they skip to year three at
okay.
one point. But here's another piece too. They're like, why did you fight so hard to get done? And it was like, it was for Albus. Like, not for me, for Albus. It's like you fought for another person like that, you're gay. Like there's a love attachment here. Just even how they had them like disagree and then they kept on seeing each other and then missing one another after they got into their fight. They have this really cool staircase scene where the staircases,
Yeah.
rotate and move, and then they kept on meeting and they were like looking each other eyes like, "Oh, I miss you," but down. Like, that whole thing. But yes, they're gay. And then it was a absolutely I'm not just thinking this at the end when Harry's like, "It's okay to be who you are." But not saying, what does that mean? We know what it means. I know what it meant. It's not to be a Slytherin, it's because you're gay. But that's okay. Um, yeah, it was good. It was good. And I know there were theories that like Dumbledore was gay too. I
Yes,
don't
I
know.
heard that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I don't even think that was a theory. I think that was like
confirmed by
legit.
her.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so fine. Wait, just go back real quick. Two things you mentioned. One, Hermione Black, because she was played by a black
In the original,
actress.
yeah, I don't know if she still is, but in the original running of the show, she was played by a black actress.
So she's played by a black actress, at least when I saw it.
Okay.
Oh,
Um, and they had a mixed child who looked like they were mixed. And then the other thing I was going to say, what did you mention about Severus, the
me?
character?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. The actor. Oh, I know the actor in the upcoming HBO series is a black guy, but the actor basically said he doesn't approve of what J.K. Rowling says, but I guess some group who was like, obviously on the trans side was like, well, your words are meaningless because you're in her show. You know, it's like, and they're in a way kind of saying what you said, like, okay, you can say all that, but you're only saying that because you're not an idiot. But it's
Sure,
almost like having like yeah, Harry Potter I think is straight up canceled like for in some circles. Like you can't even
Yeah.
like anything about Harry Potter because of J.K. Rowling.
all
Well,
I
kind
gotta
of,
say about that is for all the people that are seeing MJ the musical better than same shit, dude. Same shit, right? Like you can hate MJ, he did nothing wrong, so
But the
some
thing
people
is,
say
like, but
whatever.
we don't have any proof. We're gonna start anything, but like with JK, we know for a fact she said what she said.
Sure.
Now, with MJ, there was still no like straight up proof. He was never convicted, whatever. So I'll just say it's different because I know people are watching me right now, and the people who are MJ fans will be like, "Yeah, f that, Andrew." Don't even say it's slightly different. It's different. It's
yeah.
different, But there's others who will say, "Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire." The way I reconcile it is I just stick to MJ like right after
Musically.
fucking dangerous, and then I just leave the rest alone because to me
Well,
that's what
it's
unforgettable.
like, have you ever seen a movie created from an H.P. Lovecraft book?
Actually, no.
No, because he's a racist Nazi motherfucker. Like he's a crazy bastard. And people are like, no. Now there's stories that are inspired, that are
Yeah.
Lovecraftian, that are all this, but Lovecraft does not get a shit made, and that dude's dead. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you could go ahead and do it. So yeah, yeah. If you screw up, you can screw up pretty big,
Yeah.
and
Well,
and so
it's not that bad because clearly, I mean, every seat was taken when we went to see
Yeah.
it. So they were
yeah.
able to fill the seats. It's been running for 6 years. I think it's still fairly successful. When did she make these remarks? It was before
Oh
COVID.
God.
Oh, it's been a
Yeah.
long time now. Yeah,
But maybe I would dare say maybe even like I don't know, maybe 2015 or something like that.
yeah.
Like
I was
it's
gonna
This
say
came
around ten
out in
years.
2018. So people
Yeah,
still love it. The true Harry Potter fans
yeah,
clearly are not taking it to heart. I don't want to say taking it to heart, but they're not letting it stop them from going to see the show.
yeah,
turf. That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
I literally
yeah,
learned the word turf because of J.K. Rowling.
yeah,
TERF
yeah,
stands for trans exclusionary radical feminist.
yeah. And
That's what they called her.
That's
yes,
what she is.
yeah,
Like she is a
Oh,
TERF.
that's what
TERFs
she's the
yeah,
are
title.
TERFs are like a real thing. Like feminists who are like so feminist, you have to have been born a woman to be part of our group.
yeah,
I've never heard of this term
Yeah.
before.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
being educated today,
Tonight.
live, tonight,
Yeah.
this
Uh,
evening, live tonight.
yeah,
Wow.
it is a testament to the what she created though. Like for her to be as like, and it's not just the like she has this feeling. It's the vitriol that she spits it out with. Like she is mean, like publicly mean and nasty about it, and like whatever. But Harry Potter still just cruises along because she created this world that everybody was so enamored with that it keeps going. I mean,
Right.
people still sign up for whatever the Harry Potter website is where you get yourself sorted and you do all your shit. Like this stuff is still successful now,
Totally.
20 years after the books came out. Like she built a world.
She
She's the
did.
closest thing to like George Lucas. Like I feel like she's a George
Hmm.
Lucas of her generation.
Yeah.
And actually I'm Googling right now. It might have come out actually after. I the first things I'm seeing is 2019.
Oh, okay.
That next one
Okay.
dropped.
Interesting. Okay.
So,
Gentlemen, I'm gonna jump off, but
alrighty.
yeah, thanks so much for contributing to the Harry Potter conversation. I hope you guys at some point get to see it, at least from, like I said, it's a spectacle of something I've never
Sure.
seen on stage before for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. I definitely would like to see it at some point for sure.
Yeah,
So, all
he's
right. Have a good night.
bye.
And
Now,
now we
now
get to
sticking with
go
the gay stuff.
with the trans stuff.
Yeah.
They them.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a father. No,
yeah. Yeah, so The Last of Us episode 4. This one had some great action in it.
my God.
Uh it is definitely some good stuff happening here. It has the great opening scene with why am I forgetting his name?
Right,
Isaac.
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright. Yeah. Uh
Yeah.
amazing scene.
Hmm.
Great just dialogue there, kind of explaining how fascism takes over, you know? Um, and we won't talk about it this week, we'll talk about it next week, but Andor is doing the same thing. Like these things that were created before, the world started going through the things that we're going through as a country right now,
Crazy.
like they are very poignant,
Prescient.
very appropriate. But yeah, like the whole thing about how they started calling people voters because they took away their rights and then they were mocking them. Like you're like, damn. And then he turns around and just throws two grenades in the truck and closes the
Dude,
door.
I loved
Oh,
that scene. Okay, let's just stop right here and just like praise Jeffrey Wright for a second.
gosh, dude's dope.
Jeffrey mother effing Wright. Oh my God, dude. Like you are such an amazing actor because you went from, I mean, the first time I ever saw you actually, I forget what movie it was a 90s movie, and you were like this, like I think like Puerto Rican criminal or whatever, but you were younger back then. But anyway, but then next time I saw you that I noticed was in Catching Fire, Hunger Games. You were
Hmm.
great at that. You were a scientist kind of guy. Then I'm just doing highlight reel. Then of course you were
Westworld.
Oh,
Oh,
Westworld. Duh. No, Westworld, yes.
was he? Yeah.
Dope. Dope. That and then you were more mild-mannered, professorial.
Hmm.
Commissioner Gordon, again, professorial. But then in this, you do both. Like you were armed and professorial in the
Yeah.
APC, whatever, in the back. And I love how that one guy was why we call them voters. They all turn and look at him. And in my head, I'm like, dummy, because I'm like, don't you realize what you're around? But the way he just answered it so gruffly and so disgustedly, and then ends up like, tossing the grenade, but he goes, you come with me. Like, he just saved himself by showing that he was different from the other thugs.
Yeah.
Yo. And then he was like, make your choice. Like, and then he goes from gruff professor to like straight up copper burning. Whoa. So anyway, I'm sorry. I got excited. Jeffrey Wright, like you just added so much to this show. I cannot wait to see your Isaac character more. But again, you played the show, so play the show.
He played
Play the
Isaac in the
game,
game.
so you know where he's gonna go.
Well,
But
and he knows he played Isaac in the game, so
oh no.
he actually voiced Isaac. Now Isaac doesn't look like him in the game. I don't know what they use for a character model, but it doesn't look like him. But it's definitely Jeffrey Wright. Now, this whole bit that we saw, the bit that we saw in the beginning is new, so that didn't happen in the game. Like in the game, he's just a leader of the WLF. You don't know why. There's a scene sort of where he's torturing somebody, but you don't really see anywhere near as much as you did here. That whole monologue about copper pots and all that shit, brilliant. Uh,
Brilliant.
and like the realization that he wasn't going to break this dude, so he's like, "Ah, fuck it, blam." Like he's like, I'm not going to waste time."
Because the guy's holding out his hand
Yeah,
after all that.
yeah. Which I mean, that little dude was a baller too. Like that guy, he was just like, and I just love his line too. He's like, you think you're gonna win? We have trucks and machine guns. He's like, and the other guy's like, yeah, but every day one of your people comes to our side, and every day none of our people go to your side. And you're just like, damn, like, it's a ballsy thing to say to somebody that's torturing you, you know. Um, so that whole bit was fantastic. Um, and then we get back to Ellie and Dina and the stuff they're going through. We have the guitar scene behind me, which again, uh, um, Isabella Merced, killing it. She is the best part of the season. I have no problems with Bella Ramsey. I actually really enjoy Bella Ramsey as Ellie. I think they're doing a great job. Um, the acting is on point across the board here, but Isabella Merced is just doing something special that's just ridiculous. In this scene specifically, when she's sitting here and it shows her looking at her, it's like you are literally watching somebody fall in love. Like it was incredible.
Yeah, like she was acting without saying a word.
Mm-hmm.
Literally just eyes watering, face melting, pure admiration. And I think that was the scene that clinched her nomination at the very least for a Golden Globe, and Emmy, and Muddy didn't clinched it for a win. Um, yeah, they slayed,
Yeah,
slayed.
and like just sticking with like the things that she does, there's the whole escape. Like she is still almost the leader. Like she's keeping Ellie in check. Like she's bringing Ellie through all the stuff, keeping her level-headed. They get attacked by all the monsters. She's the one that helps them first, number one, get into the tunnel when they're running away from these dudes that they found at the radio station. And then she leads them, out of the tunnel. Now, when they get stuck, for the first time, Ellie really saves her. But in her eyes, Ellie sacrificed herself because she doesn't know that Ellie's immune. And that whole scene after that was great because she turns around and they're again killing it. Is Isabella Merced with the gun, Dina with the gun, broken. Like she loves she knows at this point that she cares about this person more than anybody else. And she is convinced that she's gonna have to kill her.
Yeah,
She just knows. And that whole scene is great. I love how when Ellie first wakes up, the water's dripping on her, and she makes these funky sounds. She's like, "It's just the water. I'm not," you know. But yeah, it's it's a fantastic episode, and I think too one of the things that I was worried about was how that their first encounter would work because in the game it was before they go find Joel. Um, and my fears were assuaged. It didn't feel like it was based on a problem they were having because of Joel. It felt like this happened organically when they were on the verge of losing each other.
yes.
So,
Yeah, no, this episode, like at least for me right now, this is actually my favorite episode of season two. I felt like 'cause I watched it like that night, and I remember watching episode three of season one and coming away feeling like I've just seen something I hadn't seen before. And I think for me, what I liked was actually Ellie being a badass. Like I think that the way she just jumped on that soldier is like trying to break his neck, but eventually just like shanks him in the neck. Like just she was so like she's not the Ellie from season one. Like she is
mhm.
absolutely trained. And it wasn't even like, let me try to talk to these people. No, this is not this world. Like if we're hiding, but we're not a Seraphite, I still gotta kill you. Like, and
Yeah.
she totally did, and I felt like, everything she did, and again, even offering her arm to get bitten, like I felt like to me, I felt like it was an equal partnership. I felt like Ellie was absolutely kind of the tough guy of the two, if you will, for
Mhm.
anyways. But as a unit, they were awesome. Now, I will say because clearly I'm Mr. Controversy in this episode. And I didn't share it. I didn't share it on my Facebook feed, but I wanted to, but I didn't. But there was like, backlash at promoting, lesbianism on The Last of Us. And but that wasn't really what I was thinking when I saw the show. I go to the comments on the original post, and someone said, my only issue was how, they had their nasty, dirty fingers, and that's going to cause all sorts of like UTIs or infections, whatever. And I'm like, I just laughed at the comment and said exactly this. But then I'm like, Andrew, you can't share this in your wall because why, dude? Like, A, you're not like a lesbian. Like, what are you doing? You're weird. Like, so let it alone. But I had to say for the record, yeah, I absolutely thought that. Like you're dirty. You just got done like touching zombies and stuff and whatever, and now you're just gonna like what? Like, anyways, that was
It's not about what
incredible.
they were necessarily who it was doing this thing, but it was like the situation they were in doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just you can leave that part out because they
About
made it a point to be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna reach in here. Like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Stop it.
I
Anyway,
think too, like part of me thinks that just in this world, they're so accustomed to filth that they do what they can. Like you
their
don't
bodies are
have,
just good.
you don't have hand sanitizer lying around in the apocalypse, right? Apparently an endless supply of Converse, but no hand sanitizer. Uh, but yeah, it's really good, and I really like that. I saw that Bella Ramsey learned to play that song on the guitar, so that's 100% Bella playing.
Yeah.
I think they have an advantage too of working with Gustavo Santaolalla, who's a big time stringed instrument guy, and probably helped with some of that learning a lot. But I like the version of the song.
You can sing, man.
It's a version that's already been done, and I forget who the
Okay.
singer is that originally did this version of it. And then Ashley Johnson redid it for the game, and now Bella did this version too. I actually think that I like Ashley Johnson's version the most.
Okay.
It's just a little different than this, but they're both really good. Um, yeah, and Bella did great. Like it was good. Like it
You,
hit the notes that it needed to hit in the right way. Not a perfect singer, which I think actually felt a little
yes,
more realistic.
exactly.
Um, yeah, it was just that scene alone was well done. I think the thing that people may have missed, if you watch, you see how excited Ellie gets about finding the guitar strings too, like an extra thing of guitar strings,
Oh, yeah.
because now when Ellie goes home, there's extra strings for Joel's guitar.
Mm.
Because one of the things I think that in the background of the episode, Joel takes her guitar and it's in like the first episode. He's like, "Oh, I can restring this for you. I got some strings." Well, after he dies, if you look in the background, his guitar is up on the wall. It's got no strings on it. So he gave her his own strings. So now she's got extra strings to bring back. Just a little thing, like it's super subtle, but it's there. Um, let's see, did we saw this? We didn't see the Seraphites in this one, right?
Oh, we totally did. Because the Seraphites, well, as far as just like what they did, right? But yeah, not so much of them themselves,
Yeah.
but the torture
Oh,
scene, but
yeah,
like the people hanging with
yeah,
their guts
yeah, yeah.
hanging out, which is just funny because like I actually like when I saw that, I actually told Saloni this. I said, "That's so funny that their guts are hanging out," because the first words I said to Kevin after Abby kill Joel, I said, I hope Ellie guts Abby like a fish. So it's funny that gutting people like fishes is a thing in this world, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Uh, but like I hope that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's it's just it's such a crazy dark world where everybody's torturing everybody, everybody's trying to get information out of everybody, and everybody's trying to kill everybody. It's just like if you're not on our side, you've got to die. And which is crazy because there is a bigger threat out there. You know what I mean? Like if the WLF and the Seraphites could just be like, hey, you go over there, hang out in your woods. We'll live in the city. We're all good. You know, um, they could all just live in peace and just kill fungi face people and move on with their day. It made me laugh because I think you saw the comment I left for Leah, but when she said, she also wants Abby to die, and I was like, it's just funny to me that everybody wants to do, exactly have Ellie do exactly what their Abby just did for the exact same reason. Like we saw Abby kill Ellie's dad, and now we want Ellie to go kill Abby. Abby watched somebody kill her dad and went and killed that person. Like it's the exact same thing, but Abby's a huge dickhole. Ellie's our hero. And
Yeah, I get it. I still, it's so funny. You could probably tell by my face. I still think there is a slight difference, but we're not gonna belabor the point. Yes, at its core, it is the same. At its core.
Mhm.
I do think there's nuance, and that's why I'm actually Leah. I hope you're listening. Like, yeah, I'm with you. INTJs.
I'm really curious to see because I'm trying to remember because I know in the game, especially as this season will go on, if it's like the game, Ellie definitely gets more brutal as it goes.
Yeah,
And
dude.
what I will say, I said this to my son too, is like if you're paying attention in almost all ways, Abby is a better person than Ellie. She makes more caring, less selfish decisions almost across the board. There's a couple of times where she does some things that are questionable, but as a person, as a human being making decisions, she makes better ones. And we'll see how that plays out. I Some of those things I can't even ruin till season three. Like I can't say anything about. Actually,
Okay.
probably most of them because I don't think we're going to see much of Abby. I think we'll probably. I think so. We're about to watch season five, or sorry, episode five tomorrow. That's still in Seattle. I think episode six is going to be mostly flashback. There is a great bit of storytelling that I think I've already seen in trailers, so I think it'll be in that episode. And then season seven is going to be the season, or episode seven is going to be the season finale. And I'm still like trying to figure out exactly where this is going to end for this because some shit's about to go down there too. But they're going to have to move real fast and then be able to bounce back to where season three would start, which will be more of Abby's story. So yeah, we'll see how it all goes. But this episode, I think, was great, man. The underground stuff with the red flares and all that taken directly from the game. Um, it's really solid.
Yeah, no, this was an amazing episode. It had the perfect mix of backstory with the WLF. It had the action with fighting the WLF and then escaping the zombies while the zombies completely murk the WLF soldiers. Then, of course, the love story. Then, of course, the jerky mints. And then finally, it's kind of like, oh, Nora. Nora's going to be at Lake Hill Hospital. Pop
Hmm.
me up. Let's go get her. So it was just like, it was perfect. I actually felt like it was the perfect episode.
Yeah,
I was
it
really,
is. It's really well done, and I think too, important to not overlook the fact that Dina is now pregnant, which
yes.
changes her um, participation in this a little bit going forward. Probably, she can't. You've got to think about her in that context now. Um, and just worry about her in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, this episode was awesome. I think it did set everything up that it was supposed to set up, and it was pretty freaking solid. So
Isaac.
Isaac's dope,
I,
man.
I look forward to more of Isaac.
I do think we probably won't see much of him for the rest of this season.
Oh,
I think we'll
no.
see more of him in next season for sure. And I think once he is in it, I think we'll see more of him than we saw in the game. I think
I
that
hope so. By the way, did they explain where the Seraphites came from or why? Have
not
they?
yet,
Okay, cool.
not yet. That's definitely going to be a bigger part probably of season three. Also,
All right.
we know that they're out there. We know that they're a threat. They do at least they've done a good job so far of making them seem not quite not threatening, but certainly less of a threat than the WLF acts like they are, right? The way that Jeffrey Wright was torturing them makes it seem like they're super badass, but all we've seen is like a group of people walking in the woods, you know, protecting themselves, right? They've got lookouts and they're doing their whistles and all that stuff to keep themselves safe
But they
in
killed those
episode three.
WF soldiers in the.
Right. And we see that there, but like for the most part, like
Yeah,
when we've actually seen them,
yeah.
they seem relatively innocent. So obviously they're not. Like this is definitely like just two sides. Again, it's it's the whole story of everything. Like it's two sides of the coin, cycle of violence, all that stuff. Like, and Jeffrey Wright even says that. Like he's like, I'm not going to get into that. You did this because we did this because you did this because we did this. He's like, I'm not. Like
I'm
a
not.
great bit of dialogue there too. It's just
Uh,
like I was like, we're never going to be okay with each other because we're always going to be blaming, blaming each other for the last thing. And so yeah, it'll be cool when they start to show up more. But I don't know how much they're going to show up this season. So I'm really curious where this season's going to take things, and how they're going to do it. But
Maybe this is the bridge, the bridge season, and then
yeah,
three will be explosive.
there will. I mean, if they go where they should go with the season finale, it's going to be a big deal too.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's going to satisfy me a lot. I don't know how satisfied other people will be, if it goes where it's supposed to go. I'm super curious just about with everything. Um, like I love that you loved this episode, because you haven't played the game. Like the story is new to you. There's like, and I think the story is new to Leah. Like the people that are watching it's new to. For me, it's I've played this game like 5 times. Like I know what's coming in the game. Like I get it, and it's exciting. It's just like when we talked about Lost. Like it's exciting for me to watch somebody else experience it, especially when I know it's coming. So like I'm watching for those reactions, but I'm also trying not to spoil it. Um, and so yeah, it's gonna pick up speed, and I almost wish what I think is episode 6 was maybe this episode coming up, just because I'd like to see it roll a little heavier into the last episode, but the stuff that they've shown maybe will only be part of the 6th episode. I don't know. But the 6th episode is one of the ones that they said was the best ones. So the two best ones were episode 2, which where Joel dies, and then episode 6 were the ones that everybody was buzzing about. Um, but I agree, like this episode for what this show is was a pretty like perfect episode. Like it had a little bit of everything in it. Um, and so and it set up the relationship between Dan and Ellie, like solidified that relationship, and some other stuff. So it'll be really interesting, to see where it goes. And some things that they've changed from the show, it's interesting too. So we'll see, where that ends up at the end of the season too.
Yeah, and it sounds like the last time we talked about this, the changes, and I do think this is the rule of thumb for change. If you're going to change something, make it better.
Hmm.
And I think that's what they've been doing. If we're going to change something, we have to make it better than the source material, or at least improve upon it in some way.
Yep.
Um, and it just sounds like, between um, Joel's motivations for going to the cabin were improved in the show versus the game, for example. And
Yep.
maybe even the Ellie Dina consummation just feels more real because it's like, yo, I almost had to kill you, but now that I have to kill you, let's do this before, like, while we can,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. 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 Totally. And yeah, I just think it's just across the board. It's been well done so far. And I think another thing that's been really great has been the scenery, and the sets and all that. The drugstore that they're in is directly from the game. Like I forget what the company name is, but it's straight out of the game. So, they're really doing a good job of keeping things nice and tight, and keeping them as close as they can while still, like you said, changing things for the better. I think if you watch, the post-show discussions from season 1, like it shows Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin talking, and they're like talking about how if they're going to change anything, it has to make the show better, or there's no point in doing it,
There you
or
go.
make the story better. And
Yes.
and if it doesn't, then you throw it out and go with what you got. Um, and so far, yeah, I think they've done that. So I
Word.
I, I keep my faith. For me, I've always liked Neil Druckmann storytelling. Craig Mazin did, Chernobyl, which is friggin' brilliant, and so I've got faith in these guys to do it right. So cool. All right. Well, then we will save Andor and maybe just Andor, and then the next episode of The Last of Us for next week, and whatever else goes down.
We watch that Clark Kent.
Oh yeah. I'll try and watch that this week for sure.
Well, yeah, started it. It was good. I started on a plane of all places.
Yeah,
but it was good. So far.
All right, cool. Well, and with that, I will say thank you to everybody at home for watching. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.